Okay, my name is Bob Lee, and I'm the Executive Director for Heroes on Horseback here in Bluffton, South Carolina. We're a equine-assisted therapeutic riding activity center. We deal with special needs individuals, children and adults, and give them therapeutic riding, help empower them. Our mission statement is to change lives one stride at a time. We use therapeutic riding and horses to help special needs individuals overcome the challenges that they have to face every day in their lives. And we deal with everything from autism, cerebral palsy, just about any kind of a physical or emotional or any kind of a handicap where their professional therapists believe that equine-assisted activities would help in their endeavors to empower themselves.
What's typically the age range?
We start as young as 3 years old, and we'll ride them up until 80 if we can. I mean, a lot of it depends on the horses that we have in the herd. Obviously, the horses have to physically be able to handle the riders, and then the riders themselves have to physically be able to handle whatever we provide them with the horses. So we work very, very closely with the caregivers, the primary caregivers and the therapists for these individuals to develop a program on horseback that will meet their needs. It's a very individualized program.
How long do the seasons go?
We ride all year long, 4 to 5 sessions a year. We usually run about 6 to 8 weeks per session.
Mm-hmm.
We do a lot with some of the bigger groups around here that deal with special needs individuals. Special Olympics is a major partner of ours. Also the Academy for Career Excellence, programs for exceptional people with the Marine Corps Air Station over in Beaufort. So we try to collaborate with groups that also have special needs. Involved in their programs to get them out here as a group to ride with us as well.
Great. You talked about some of the military earlier and how some of the siblings were involved. Maybe you can expand on that a little bit.
Right. This summer, for the first time, we helped develop a program with the Marine Corps Air Station to develop a program to bring in the children of either veterans or active duty who are special needs children, and also their able-bodied siblings to come over here and ride with us, do some ground lessons, do some arts and crafts that are all equine-based, and basically give the parents a break from all their kids at one time. It's therapy for the parents, and it's also therapy for the special needs child and their siblings, because how they work with each other as brothers and sisters also makes a big difference.
Great. Now I understand you're going to take us on a tour here?
Absolutely. Let's take a walk around. Right here we've got some of our special needs kids here. These riders are about to go on a tour, on a trail ride. This is our last session of this session, our last class of this session. So we always reward them with a trail ride.
Now, Bob, you were telling us earlier a little bit about the gentleman who lent this premise to you. Can you share that information about that a little bit?
Yes, a wonderful fellow. His name is Gary, and this is his private residence. And we've been on the property, I think, for like 5 or 6 years now. He allows us to operate our program out here basically Tuesday through Saturday. Monday is an office day for us. We do all the planning on Mondays. But Tuesday through Saturday we'll ride, usually in the morning from about 9:30 till about 2:33 in the afternoon. And then we do, on Wednesdays, we'll ride a little bit later than that, actually. And then on Saturday mornings as well. And that way we get to get the kids that are involved in the schools, but also a little bit of after-school, homeschool kids on the Saturdays. We try to design the program so that we can capture as many kids from their different individual circumstances as we possibly can.
Great. Roughly how many kids in the program these days?
This last year we rode over 200 throughout the year. Summertime was a huge one for us. We had our first summertime program last year. We ended up with 8 kids that rode with us in the summer. This year we actually rode 61, so it was a huge jump. And that's really important for us, because what you don't want to do is you don't want the kids to ride through, say, May or June, then school is out and they don't get to do anything until September or October. That period of time in between is important to keep them involved in the program, to keep that equine-assisted therapeutic riding going all throughout the year. And because we're so heavily dependent on volunteers, it's important that we have the volunteers that can also support the program in the summertime when it's buggier and it's hotter and it's more humid and it's just a more uncomfortable thing to do in the summertime than, say, this time of year when it's beautiful and cool and stuff like that.
Great. Let's see the premises here.
We have enough. Not at all. We have enough turnout around here, and turnout is basically a term for how much space and grassland and pasture you have per horse for horses out here. And we have enough for about 12, 13 horses. We currently have 7 horses in our herd right now, and then Gary also has 4 horses that he owns that he allows us to use in our program if we need them.
That's fantastic.
Most of our horses are not owned by us. They're actually borrowed or rented on something called a free lease. And what that means is that there are people that have horses that fit what we're looking for in our program, and they allow us to use their horses. And then if we don't need their horses after a period of time, then we can give them back to the owners. And that's really important for a nonprofit organization like ours, because we don't have that fixed cost of having to support that horse all year long, even if it's not being ridden in the program.
Great.
Dealing with horses is obviously a little bit different challenge, because it's not just a matter of whether the horses get along with the riders or the volunteers, but the horses have to get along with each other as well. And so when you put your herd together, you really have to think about the emotional and the physical and just the basic, all the needs of the horses and how they react and how they relate to each other, in addition to how they relate to the humans that work with them. So we're heading into the barn here. This time of year, because of the weather, it's nice and warm, you don't see the horses in here too often. They're usually out in the pastures. In the wintertime, or when the weather gets nasty, we will put them in the barn. This area here is where we do most of our catching up with the horses and our grooming.
You mentioned earlier about volunteers. How many volunteers do you have roughly today, and how many typically
in the
need?
entire organization, we have between 300 and 400 volunteers at any given time, and we will use in a session usually around 50 to 60 volunteers that will support us per week riding, because it is a very volunteer-intensive program. Usually, in most cases, when you're riding a rider, you'll have 3 volunteers directly involved with that rider, someone leading the horse and then 2 sidewalkers. And then you'll have other volunteers that are coordinating the group activity. You'll have an instructor that's doing it. So it's a very volunteer-intensive program.
And you've been pretty fortunate with 400 volunteers.
We've been very, very fortunate. This is a community that's a very giving community, and there's a lot of retired people in this area that have the time and have the desire to get involved in programs like ours, and so they've been a huge blessing to us.
Is the Heroes and Horseback model unique, or are there other similar ones around the country?
No, there's actually quite a few. We belong to an organization called NARA.
Okay.
And it's sort of the umbrella organization for riding centers like ours that hold us to certain standards. We have to do certain things in certain ways, not just in our programs, but the way we deal with horses, and our instructors all have to be certified to their standards. And we're actually what's called a premier accredited center of NARA. So we've gone through the certification process. They've been to the facility and looked at our facility and made sure that we're in compliance with everything they require as well. So there's a standardization process that we're part of.
Great.
This is the barn. These barns have challenges. There's a neat story right here. You'll notice that most of the walls in this barn are actually cinder block, but that one right there is made out of wood. We had a big old horse by the name of Luke, and he had a little bit of a skin problem, and he was in the stall right there, and he was scratching his back end against the cinder block wall and knocked the entire cinder block wall over. Fortunately, there was nothing going on in the stall next to him. But when you deal with horses that are a little bit older and more docile, you also deal with their health issues, and that's a pretty common element with horses in this kind of a program. He has a problem called Cushing's disease, and so you have to deal with all these issues with horses just like you would if you were dealing with older people. They've got their meds and they've got their veterinary calls and everything else that you need to do to keep them healthy enough to participate in the program and give them basically allow them to live out their natural lives.